All right. Oh, there we go. Excuse me. Hello. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. Technical difficulties for 1 minute. But, hey, guys. Hello. Hey. Thanks for subbing, Scott. Appreciate it. But, hey, folks, and welcome back to the long-awaited Astro News Network revival. Did you know that the last time the ANN was shown was actually just slightly over 3 years ago in March, way back for the start of Eagle? That was E3. That was a long time ago. But no matter how long it's been, thanks so much for joining the stream today, or maybe sometime later if you're watching the replay. I'll eventually get it on YouTube. But if you don't know me, or maybe just plain forgot, I'm Jordash. I've played Astro all the way back since Phoenix, and along the way I've done all sorts of things. I've run some guilds, I've done some good, and my own fair share of evil along the way. And for the first time since, I believe, Genesis, I'm playing the new Astro Empire server B5, Borealis. And, you know, it's been fine so far. There's been plenty of action across the server, and definitely drama. There's always that. And today we have 3 weeks of Borealis to discuss, which my close personal friend CIA is going to join us soon and really help me piece together what's been happening over the server start, and maybe a little touch on what's been happening over the last year or two as well, but that'll just be a light touch. Hey, hello people in chat, LSR, Lift with me, Taco. I'm glad to see everybody's joining again. Appreciate that. I said we're going to have CIA on. We're also going to have another guest, another close personal friend, Aurkhi, also known as Scott, the GM of NF, on for a friendly interview where we're going to talk about the dramatic Yugi and War Legend Week 1 contest and subsequent War Legend relocation into 08 and 09. We're also going to speak on my favorite thing about running a guild, which is making pretty announcements, which I know most people don't care about, but I do, and it's my show, so we're going to talk about it. Hey, thanks for subbing enlarged to show detail. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And before we bring on our guests, which we're going to have CIA on pretty quickly to really hop into the server recap, but first I'm just going to touch on my 3 weeks on the server. So my experience on Borealis so far has featured some highs and some lows. It started out with True Justice asking me to play in WL War Legend, where I started and was going to play. I was going to brush their jump gates for him. But War Legend had a bit of a target on their back for the server start because they recruited about 100 players for their pre-server group, which is ever so slightly on the Zergy side of things. So groups like the lovingly group that we call Cancer Crew, they definitely wanted to start on that and jump on that. So War Legend started in the lower B20s, where Yugi started right on top of us, and their plan seemed to be outplay us and smash us in the face, and that is more or less exactly what happened for the first week of the server. NF, they were Yugi at the time. Gotta love these guild name changes early server start to make this difficult. But NF, and they just kind of seem to have a better plan for winning the contested server start. And after just that 1 week of NF's players who do kind of more frequently play those mini server starts, where they get their experience, where they just play for a week or a few days and just beat people down for a week. They had a little more experience with that, so they did a pretty good job of just clubbering us in War Legend. We weren't as experienced doing mini server starts and weren't following the same strategies that no friends were. Hey, Warbeaver, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Please don't call us MSS players. Some of you are. None of us are MSS players. That's a good cope. Yeah, no one there has played MSSs. I'm sure that's real. But yeah, you definitely do play some MSSs, and you guys do know like the strategies for that. Like the proper times of when to. What's it like? Base 2 or 3? You just start pumping CVs from the start. You guys were doing that, and we weren't doing that. So, based on those facts, we're going to call them facts, and you had the more experience, so you beat us. I mean, you had better experience, and you had the better players, so that's how you win, and I think that's a fair thing to say. MSS, Shy Mystic, that stands for Mini Server Start. There's like a kind of a side Discord where some more players that are looking for different kind of server starts, like outside of the every 6 month servers that we do. They'll find like an old server, and they'll say you'll get like 20 some players together, and they'll say, hey, we're going to draft into teams, we're going to drop into this old server, and we're just going to fight for a week. Some people really like that week one experience where you're all in the same galaxy, they start really close together, and they just fight for a week. And so they get more practice doing that. Some people like that, the 6 months, a year of Astro where you're kind of doing nothing for a year. But the MSS players, they like that feeling of the first couple of weeks of the server where you just jump in and beat each other up real hard for a few weeks, and they kind of decide who wins. But yeah, just a real activity test, or not just an activity test, but it's an activity and playing really well test, and they do it pretty well. But back to back to my little server experience. So that was in the lower B20s. Yugi and War Legend, they were fighting a bit, and Yugi, they definitely won. It was kind of a hands down situation. There was only about 50 of them, and then 100 of War Legend people. But when you get snowballed and you're pumping fleet and hitting us and we're not, that's the path to victory. But after a week of a beatdown, War Legend decided to cut our losses and restart into 08 and 09, which was kind of a bit of an interesting choice because 08 and 09 were already occupied by guilds like Dark, so it wasn't a great start there either. Not to say that Dark was this massive like powerhouse in 09, but they weren't just like pure simming accounts just pumping economy. Instead, after that first week of having like 8 bases, they were closer to like that 500 economy and were like already pushing fleet to just hit people. So we get into 08 and 09, and there's people with fleets waiting for us to go over level protection. So while 09 certainly wasn't brutal like the B20s were, it still kind of wasn't a great time. Hey, Squeegee Man, thanks so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate it. So yeah, 09, well, not great, but not great, but still not exactly what we're looking for, you know? So after another week so it's 2 weeks of kind of getting knocked around a bit in B20 and then 09. I ended up reaching out for a new home, eventually finding myself restarting again with a second restart into the guild Oops in B30. And Oops has been nice. The B30s are a bit of a sim cluster. Oops and Urban, I didn't write down the other guild. They're all packed together up there. But Oops specifically is more of like a noob-friendly, almost training-style guild. I don't believe I've played for their GM C4 before, but so far he runs kind of a tight ship, gives pretty good instruction and guidance, especially for the newer players, and it's still helpful to see that things when you are experienced. So yeah, I like what he's doing there. It's a fun time. I signed up to play battleships, got to try out the new thing, but you never know if I'll get bored and sneak into building caps later. You never know. So is Oops going to be the forever guild for the server? I sure hope so. It's good so far. Hey, Ilya, thanks for the Prime sub too. Appreciate that too. Yeah, but yeah, I've been starting there for a little over a week now. The longest place I've been in an account so far this server, but I have my photons up already, so your ninjas, you're not going to get me. Got to think twice. And I'm not just simming there. I did snipe some random kind of potentially newer players' outpost ship. Sorry to you, Mr. IRL Tides. Afterwards, I hit him. I looked at his bases, and I saw that he did have a 0 economy base with 16 research labs, so I did feel a little bad about hitting him. But between writing this script yesterday and this morning, I had left a recycler off base somewhere, and he shot it down, so I don't feel bad about him anymore. He got his get back, so he got his justice. But I guess aside from really putting this stream together, that's kind of been my server experience so far. I started in Galaxy 20, then 9, now I'm in 30. Hoping to not restart again. And, have a nice, relaxing, fun time where we just crash other people and win every crash and have a great time. But elsewhere on the server, we've had our fair share of action, especially in the B20s. They've had a bunch of crashes throughout there with Film, Lob, and Boom. Other guilds participating in the other tags. Lob, Legends of Borealis, really wants me to talk about going back to back to back, where they won 3 skirmishes in over like a scream of like a day and a half. They're like fighting over a pile or something. But we'll talk about that later with CIA, and where we'll dive into those B-20s crashes, show off some battle reports, talk about pile sizes, who stole what pile from what. And CAA is going to help co-host that big server review that we do. And also, I've been a little bit out of the loop over the past few years, while CAA's been, doing his own style of reporting in the Discord, picking up my slack. We'll touch on A5, Altair, a little bit. I don't know how much we'll talk on other servers, really before that, but we will touch on A5 just a little bit there too. And last but not least, before we bring on our first guest, I did want to thank you for watching the show today. Whether it's your first time or maybe you've even been interviewed on the show before, there's not that many of us left. It does mean a lot to me that we can come together for my little silly show and try to have some fun and do more than just argue cutthroat with each other in the Astro Empires Discord. And this is the one time I'm going to bring it up, and some of you have been so great about it already. So this is your one-time friendly reminder that if you have an Amazon Twitch Prime sub sitting around, maybe you could click on it to subscribe to the channel. The ANN is always grateful for any donations towards my attempt at a relatively no-spin zone community event. I did have a green screen emergency this morning because I had like the rack for the green screen, but I didn't have the right curtain, so I had to run out and grab a little green tablecloth and throw up there. So we got to find a new correct green screen. It's all a part of us. Scott, you don't have $5, $5 freaking dollars. No, watching is plenty. Just happy you're here. But you know what, guys? Without further ado, I'm ready to start reviewing this server. CAA knows a lot about what we're doing here. So I'm going to send us to a quick break and return with my news partner for the day, CIA. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a moment. Thank you, Mr. True Justice, for your Prime sub too. Yeah, I'm going to run it to break so we can get CIA on and we can start talking shop. See you guys in a few. Hey, CIA. Thanks for the quick answer. Yeah. So, how this I guess we'll say the start of the call works. I'll bring us back in and I'll say, hey, we're back from break. I'm here with CIA. CIA, why don't you just say hello or something so that people can make sure they hear you, and really I'll be able to see it in my audio mixer and I'll see it. And bring up page 2 of the script. Yeah, because I'll just say, hey, why don't you just say hello or something so we can make sure we hear you. And then I'll say, oh yeah, I hear you, it looks good. Before we start talking Astro, why don't you just introduce yourself and then just give yourself your little brief intro, and we'll start rocking from there. What was the first thing you wanted to talk about? Did you want to kind of do the little... Oh, you're hearing me. I muted you, but I didn't hear me. Haha, they're laughing at me. Alright, guys. Haha, I didn't mute my microphone while doing the switch. It's very funny. Very funny. But, guys, we're back live. We did it. We got CIA on. CIA, you're on stream now. CIA, can you say hello or something? Because while they could hear me, they certainly couldn't hear you. So can you say hello?
Hello. Hiya. How you doing, George?
I hear you just fine. I'm waiting for someone in chat to respond, but it sounds like they should be able to hear you. I see you're in the audio mixer. Perfect. Okay. All right. Excellent. No more technical difficulties. Great. Well, CIA, what we always like to do, come on, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, when you started playing, where you've played before, Yeah, I know you've been doing a lot over the last few years, so let's let everybody know.
Sure. Yeah, no, I started originally playing in Alpha, but not at the start of Alpha. I had to search AE Bits to find what username I was under. I believe I was under a different username currently. I think it was like something like Terror or something like that. I played a little bit of Alpha and some other server that I've forgotten of. I probably returned properly to play Andromeda under the username CIA, and I think that was 2015. I had to actually check all this in AE Bits. This is not from my own memory, which failed me. I remember that someone I spoke to on the forums back then who recruited me to join Andromeda, and we played in a guild called Derbhose Intergalactic Inc., and our tag was a symbol of a face. I don't remember anything of server politics because I was just a player at that point, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get involved in any of the politics. I properly returned to the game back in Cygnus in 2021, where I started in the 20s in that server, and I think I was in the Alaka subguild. So I think I was in a hamster subguild or something like that at that point. I think the tag was DDOX. It was either DDOX or DDOXX. I don't remember which one exactly was that one. But I was just a player again and kind of relearning the game because there was the move from, when I played then, you were using you had Rocky Planets as your primary things, and then it became the Roid method in V3.
Yeah.
But then I played with some folks from Cygnus into my next server, Destiny, where we started to play in a contest in upper 30s. That's where I started playing with Sean, Aurkhi, Wodan, Belwar. Sort of got to know all of those guys. We lost our contest eventually. We ended up losing that fight and relocated to lower teens, and that's where I found myself sort of adopted by people
I have to
like
stop
Ben.
you. I have to stop you for 1 second, CIA, because it's so dumb. DPS just wrote the message. My Roid meta, you're welcome. I know, but not just that. I had to approve that message. It popped up. It was like, this sounds like AI. Do you want to let this come through? It didn't even think AI or DPS was real. It wanted to stop that.
Well, he could be AI, couldn't he, I suppose? Yeah. But yeah, I started playing. I started getting adopted by sort of Ben, Fury, Sparty, and Goat, and I started playing with them mostly. And I've played maybe most servers. I think I had a bit of a lull between Deimos in sort of V4. V3.5 era, I sort of had a bit of a lull, but I've sort of played reasonably consistently since then. I think probably I'm more well known for the posting I do in Discord, where I try and do some news style, keeping up with what's going on in the servers. I post charts of who's in alliances with who's in which galaxy, who's in which cluster, who's leading which guild. So perhaps I'm more known for that nowadays. But other than that, it's pretty unremarkable AE career.
Pretty unremarkable. You are in leadership in guilds. You are the GM of some guilds. It's not completely unremarkable. You're doing plenty of things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I do some. I probably did less. I probably do less than I used to do now. But yeah, I do some leadership. I'm in the current server in Borealis. I'm in Myth, so playing with people like Wraithen and Lost Martian, people like that.
Yeah. It's so you're in Myth. So before we just talk about, I guess, Borealis altogether, what have you done personally in Myth? What's so great about your guild, Myth?
What's so great about our guild in Borealis?
Yes, exactly that.
Well, we haven't done mass amounts. To be honest with you, it's been a bit of a boring start. But we do have we've been doing some. I've seen we've doing some ninjas on China. Boom, the guild tag that is. We've been doing a few operations, dealing with a few griefers in some of the other galaxies, alongside with a sort of training guild, sort of a training guild setup. But you're actually part of Jord. Oops, right? Which used to be called NP Plus, I believe.
Yeah, they used to be NP Plus, and then I joined, and then they changed the name, so I have to write different tags when talking about it. Yeah.
And there's quite a few characters in that. There's obviously C4 Mouse, people like Meow, and a lot of hopefully experienced players that I'm hoping will lead a lot of the newbie players to be productive members of the AE community, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm real quick on the new players thing. I've heard there have been some we've stumbled upon some new players in some groups. Scott
Well,
says that he's found some in
yeah.
his group. There's some in the 30s and new players. There's that new Brazilian group that's posting in the Discord just this week. So yeah,
Yep.
where
Yeah.
where are we finding new players in 2026? Who'd have thought it?
Well, it must come from Wizards' impressive advertising campaign, I can only assume, obviously, George.
I don't. Speaking of Wizards advertising, I don't know if you're reading chat, but Wizards advertising, they're saying, "Are we just going to skip over CIA exposing Wizards' massive tax fraud scandal?"
Oh. I mean that's information in the public domain. So I mean, ultimately, all I can say is that it's pretty wild what you can, what kind of information the Portuguese government require you to show. But yeah, no, I think actually that's probably one of the things I'm slightly known for, is posting some of Wizards' tax returns, company tax returns anyway. But and there's been some interesting things on there. I think one of the most interesting ones is there's a company vehicle or something like that. So yeah, we're via our whatever they are, $24.99 upgrades. I don't know what an upgrade is nowadays. We are funding Wizards lifestyle, I guess.
Well, how do you think the trade routes work? They got to get from one place to the other. That's what the car is.
Oh, well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's got to be some give and take, hasn't there? But but onto sort of new players though, George. You mentioned about obviously new players and where have these come from. And you mentioned actually, I believe, NFs or Yugis or Scott's group, whatever you want to call it, Cancer Crew, anything like that. That to answer that question, where this group is from, because I can confirm these are not, some might laugh and say, new players is synonymous with Maltese or something like that. And of course, the CC of now is obviously, I've heard, is reformed. I don't think they would use Maltese anymore. There was a slight blip in Altair, I think, but we'll get onto that in a bit maybe. But during Altair, to sort of understand Borealis probably a little bit more, you need to look back at Altair, Jord. And during that server, Scott and CC / ran a small guild of around probably 23 accounts, and mostly of them were sort of the standard players, led by Scott. During that server, a small guild of randoms started in their cluster with them, and I think they were sort of adopted by them. I think the guild was called. The tag was NOM. I don't recall what that was. What the full name of that was. But why am I mentioning this though? Of course, because those players are the new inductees into Yugi and Borealis, and that's why we're seeing Yugi / NF having a full guild of 50 at server start. So that sort of explains where those players have come from. There's been an awful lot of new players actually. In Myth, we have a decent chunk of new players coming from guilds such as Rave, and even some happy players actually from Altair, which is kind of strange to think about. But there have been, it goes to show actually, this game's not. We all joke about it being a dead game and no one playing and stuff like that, and no new players joining it. But it's surprising actually how many people, still are coming to play on it.
Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned the. I'm sure Scott will talk about it too. How on Altair they only brought like 20 or some. And then they got zerged out, so they said, "Well, we're going to bring 50 and not get zerged out."
That's it. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And that's what led them to bring more accounts, probably in Borealis, I suspect, probably. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, I suppose. Obviously, we all know what happened with the contest of WL and VL versus Yugi. And the relocations that happened from them. Only just one thing to add from that is the relocations, the splintering of WLVL, which was a 100 player group. They splintered across multiple clusters, galaxies, and stuff like that. There's players I think went to SS in lower zeros. I think a chap named Slasher Tab is leading them, who I believe there are probably some. I'm sure Scott Aurkhi will have some interesting things to talk about him, because I believe there's some interesting events that happened at the start of the original contest. There's also some Golden Company to talk about under Insidious, who I think have relocated to 15. So really, they've. With TJ and Cloak's guild sort of splintering, they really have sort of spread among the rest of the server. And that's sort of I think talking more about the contest, I think you'll probably get more bang for your buck speaking to Aurkhi about that.
Yeah, people are saying they're getting spammed by ads. I know that since the last stream years ago, like they've updated how like ads work, and they just kind of throw them in a lot more. While you're talking, I'm like trying to like figure out how to do it, but it might not happen midstream. So sorry if there's an ad every like 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know what it is. I know they've changed how that automatically works. So sorry if that's happening. It's not my intention. So what were you saying the last 30 seconds? Because I was not listening at all.
I was just stating that, you know, the guilds, the players from WLVL have sort of splintered across most of the server. You have players that have relocated to lower zeros, mid 15s, you know, different guilds. So what we're seeing with WLVL splitting is not, you know, they went from 100 to, I think they now have 40 players, I think, if that's correct, as of current. So that was just all I was just saying about the contest. I was saying that you'll probably get more bang from your buck with going through the contest in more detail with Scott.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Because they'll be able to talk on, those fun details. I think I can turn off the ads, guys. Great news.
Hey, there we go.
Oh, the shortest I can set it is one ad every 20 minutes. You get what you get, boys. Okay. Crisis averted. Okay. All right. So, WL, they relocated down to, they relocated down to 0809. They went from 100 players down to 50. Now a lot of people split out. Myself included. Some people didn't want to go on that first relocation. That happens every time you do. Have we talked about the other potential relocation? Because I know we're going to talk on those big 20s crashes soon. But there's the guild Film. After they lost their crash against Boom, I had heard they were relocating, but I'm not sure they are. What can you tell us about that?
So at the moment, I think a small, perhaps maximum 3 or 2 players have relocated as of this moment. I think they've gone somewhere in 15 teens, I should say. Mm-hmm. At the moment, Film have not restarted, as far as I'm aware. My sources tell me they were close to the action. Most of the action, most of the Film was spread over 2 galaxies, so 26 and 27. Mm-hmm. 27 being the contest galaxy with Lob. From what I've gathered, most of the 27 players have sort of semi-quit. The 26 players were unsure of. But no relocation has happened. It was actually surprising, because I'm glad you mentioned that, Joel, because obviously that is the other focus that I've sort of been focusing on. But after sort of the WLVL contest was sort of over we're talking day 4, wasn't it? Something like that.
Well, it was probably over by day 4. We did not relocate until one weekend of the server on Saturday.
Yeah, so there was a sort of a delay there, but my sort of narrative attention moved and shifted over to the other contest in the 20s, which is the one you mentioned in Lob versus Film, which we could talk about a little bit more, maybe. Oh yeah,
if you're ready to go on that, we can definitely look at some of those battle reports. Real question: who is the GM of Film? Arnaud Butch.
Yes, the GM of Film. Well, so there's been a lot of misinformation regarding
this. Yes, Black Widow saying Raven says he does, but
Raven supposedly was the GM of Film. If you were to believe a lot of the talk about it, but I can confirm actually, I've interviewed multiple sources, multiple film people. I've actually spoken to Rafen himself. Rafen is actually in my guild in Myth, and leading it. So it's kind of difficult for him to be leading in Film. I think you'll agree. He's known Film. As I understand it, it's actually a little bit of a question mark, Jord. Who is leading Film? That's the great question mark, Jord. Because I've been told it's Pickle Rick. But also I'm hearing other names, and unfortunately, they've sort of declined to comment to me. So who is leading Film? Who knows really at this point? Perhaps it is leaderless and a rudderless ship.
I wonder if
it's not Rafen.
It's not Rafen. I wonder if Pickle Rick leads his guild the same way he shouts at people in the Astro Discord. I hope he just berates people in his guild constantly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that might well be it.
But yeah, there's a lot of incog stuff around the server. Like my contact list is full of people that have messaged me. Oh, hey, Jordan, you're playing again, whatever. And then I go, oh, this is their real name, because even for Lob, that GM says it's Vascan, might not be Vascan.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, the GM is not Vascan.
Yeah.
He may be in the seat there, but yeah, that's. There's been an awful lot of incog in this server, and actually, surprisingly, I mean, we're in how many weeks are we into server now? We're in nearly 3 weeks, aren't we? Surprisingly, the incogs have been mostly staying strong, which is surprising.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we're looking at battle reports and some pile stuff for those crashes in B26. Right now on the screen, you saw the
Yes.
pile that Lob stole. So yeah,
Yes.
back to back to back. Lob people that are in there have been saying, talk about it. Well, one in particular, he's incog. But he's saying, you got to talk about back to back to back. So,
Sure.
CI, let's do it.
Guys, let's start from the beginning, shall we? So, as I said, the Lob versus Film contest occurs in 26 and 27. 26 is a film, pretty much Sim Galaxy, with no Lob presence, apart from anything really. 27 is obviously the contested galaxy between Film and Lob. Lob's a small group of players led by Taco, who people may have heard about on here. They have about 8 to 9 accounts to Film's. I think at one point it was 20. At the start it was like 27. Now Film also had another guild, BR, which joined them sort of as a semi-alliance, sort of to fight them. And as said, the whole thing sort of kicked off on the 25th of March. Lob saw that Film blobbing in 27. They decided to be the ones to crash them and launch. Now, that crash actually was incredibly close, but actually it resulted in a Film victory, which was a Lob defeat. It was close, like very narrow. So not a complete disaster for Lob, who initially were obviously on the back foot with that. They, a lot of guilds, I think, probably after that initial crash might just, call it then and probably call it quits. Which I'm sure is probably usually the experience in AE, but it appears Lob didn't, and instead we're now prepared to figure out how to retake the pile. Film at this point was still blobbing on that pile, and they're a little bit bigger at this point than Lob, spending their credits on laying new bases, not really committing to the same level of double prod, and that's really what allowed Lob to gain ahead of them, even though a considerable size difference in terms of accounts. Lob essentially retakes the pile, probably 8 hours later after losing it. But it's close, and they probably had around, I think if I remember correctly from the screenshots, there was around 1,000 fleet of Lob holding that pile at some point. The following day, Film tried to retake it. So at this point, we're already at one loss, initial loss for Lob, one Film victory. Lob retake the pile, the first win. Film try and retake the pile back from Lob. Lob manages to hold that pile, the second victory. And at this point, Lob have been stacking the entire time. Film make sort of the final final push to try and get it. But the final act comes upon the about 2,200 hours on the 26th. The main piles at this point held by Lob is nearly gone, but not quite, and Film still has a smaller blob gathered in 27. Lob decide to hit out and hit this one, creating a second pile. And that's where we come onto the fourth crash of that one, Jord, and that would be, I think that's what people are alluding to as the back-to-back-to-back win, right?
Yes, it was, because really it's talked about more specifically, I think it's more in reference to it had like the 3 crashes within the 30 hours. Which is
correct. Yeah. Well, this all happened in about a 30-hour period. Yeah, correct. It's the final fight, the third victory for Lob, resulted in Film's reinforcements not even being able to land. It happened in such a small amount of time that Film's reinforcements, some of them were not even allowed to land from 26. From 26. And they had to sort of just recall back home in shame at this point. And that's essentially it. At that point, the contest was really over by that second crash. But the sort of most of the resolve of Film players in 27 had pretty much given up at this point. Because their players were probably so far behind, particularly. It's an interesting story of recovering discipline. I'm sure you're probably showing the battle reports and stuff like that. Perhaps Lob did lose the first crash, but they never gave up and won the contest through sort of a sustained double prodding and better timing. And that's how a guild of approximately 10 accounts build a guild of approximately 30 plus allies in BR, which I think were a range between 8 and 11.
Yeah, so I guess was it just a matter of more Lob showed up to the crashes and Film their players didn't show
Yeah,
up as much. I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
think if they just
In
clicked send fleet, they would send it there. The Corvettes
yeah.
would outnumber the other Corvettes, and then they could just win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in a lot of cases, in a lot of those crashes, I've had reports that they're very rarely. In fact, I don't think at any point Film had like full attendance from all their players. They had multiple times people recalling from galaxies. It seems that the Film Sim Galaxy in 26 never really got off the ground particularly, which then and there would have been ninjas, and I believe there were ninjas from Lob from 27 to 26 to slow some of them down. But yeah, it's really quite an impressive story.
Yeah, so that was like back to back was all between Film and Lob. How long between like those little series of crashes with Film before Film then ends up also crashing with Boom, and subsequently
Yeah,
Lob
so that
up?
happened.
How long between those events?
I believe now this is testing my knowledge actually, because I believe it was around between 4 to 5 days after the original, the sort of the final defeat essentially. It's important to note that obviously Boom China launched straight into 26, so that obviously had been a relatively untouched galaxy at this point. Boom launched into. Boom had been watching on the sidelines pretty much. I'm almost certain. I was looking back, and I don't think there were any, if many, ninjas from Boom into either Lob or Film at that point. There might have been one or two, the odd ones. If I remember correctly, I think Film and BR were more heavily ninjured, perhaps by China, than Lob itself. But probably about 4 to 5 days, I think, after the final crash between Lob and Film, Boom decided to make a launch onto 26, Jord. From what the numbers I can find, it looks like Boom launched around 1.9 million fleet. About 1.75 million of that was on time, in a timely fashion that will make a difference to the crash, versus a defending force of Film of about 950,000. Numbers sort of do vary on the reports I've been shown, but that's total rough numbers. So we're talking about a roughly 800,000 disparity in fleet in Boom's favour. And to be honest with you, George, the crash goes about as well as you might think, really. It results in 1 million Boom fleet dead to secure the pile versus pretty much all of the Film fleet at that point gone. So it's really, really dispiriting probably for Film players, being beaten pretty much handedly by Lob in 27, then to get feasted upon by China in 26.
Yeah, because with that big of a disparity, I mean, that's almost double the fleet that Boom had over Film, and without shields, there's nothing you can do. And so
exactly, yeah.
So Boom wins that initial crash against Film. They have a pile that I think I remember seeing it have about 300,000 in debris on it, but they don't hold it for long, do they?
Sure, so it's also important to bear in mind that Boom had around 3 million total fleet at this point. Film and BR, their sort of sub-guild kind of allies, had maybe 2 million in total. So quite a small gather from Film, not a great launch from Boom either, to be honest with you. In fairness, Film didn't run from that fight, as we said. The end result is actually, it was a pile of 800,000. I think the screenshot you're showing is 300,000 after China had collected it. Mm-hmm. From what I have information, it was an 800,000 pile.
Oh, wow.
China collected 500,000 of that, and it wasn't all just a happy case of China obviously recycling that pile, as we know, because not all was as it seems. Because obviously, George, at this point, unbeknownst to either side, Lob in 27 was watching this all unfold and had prepared launch tables that landed them about 12 hours after the crash. So that leaves Boom enough time to recycle 500k of the debris, leaving I think roughly 300,000, and I think that's the number you're referencing. That's probably showing up on the screen. Yeah, that's as Lob came into detection. Boom fled through the wormhole back to 28, leaving Boom to hold the pile for around, I think, 7 to 8 ticks. They recycled roughly 200,000 debris. Now this is where the story sort of becomes a bit incoherent slightly, and because inexplicably they allowed Boom to sort of recapture the pile at this point, with 100k debris in them, but Boom didn't retake that pile with fleet or any fight Lob literally left the pile, allowing Boom to retake it. At this point, Boom ran for the whole point of Boom running. Obviously, the first place was the sink from Lob was first of all too good, but also their combat fleet was negligible. It does appear that the pile take and sharing has been some kind of strategy by Lob to secure a lucrative defensive pact with Boom. That's my understanding. Anyway.
So we think that Lob and Boom may now have a little pacty pact now.
I think it's highly likely, Jord. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Was that on the picture here? Is this noted on the picture?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's reflected on the picture. Yeah.
Let's see. 20s Lob, pacted Boom. Oh yeah, it's there. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, Taco says there's no pact between Lob and Boom. Speculative News Network. Okay, so it's just a rumor. This is just a rumor from CIA. He's not really affiliated with the AIN. He kind of does his own thing.
That's true. I'm just a guest dancer at this point.
Yeah. So a rumored but denied pact. They're not friendly at all. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be a rumor and approved pact. You know, they wouldn't be. You know, it's bound to be denied. I imagine by Lob, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure, it's been denied. Vascan said there's no pact. Yeah.
Well, if Vascan said it, he's the official GM. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So who knows, really? But this is I suppose that puts the 20s in an interesting position now. Obviously, with Pumpkin Map, it's probably slightly changed, but now you have 20s. The only people left in 20s, if we ignore film for a second, are NF. It used to be Yugi, and Boom and Lob. And I haven't been seeing, I mean, you can say it's speculation, George, but I've not been seeing a single hit between Boom and Lob, and they are right next door to each other, so it's very strange to me.
Wow, what a smoking gun. Wow.
Well, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so the 20s sound fun. So they're all still kind of fighting there, and there's a lot of the active guilds there, so I'm sure they'll be giving us more content over the coming weeks for sure.
I think it's the cluster to watch, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure.
For any action.
Yeah, because coming back to our map, if we look at the 10s, I look at the lines. That's a packed line. That's packed. That's full packed. It looks like in the 10s.
Yeah. I mean, actually, annoyingly, after I produced that graphic, I think I saw one of the guilds hitting each other. So that might almost discount one of those. I think it was between Lois and Bex. As I understand it, Golden Company, and Lois Pokey are all pacted. Yeah, Teens is pretty much there. I think Bex is not a serious contender, if you see what I mean.
Yep. And so 10s seem to be a mostly pacted cluster. 30s are a definitely pacted cluster. The zeros have some guilds there.
Sorry, 30s. Yeah, 30s are definitely a pacted cluster. That is true enough. I mean, we have obviously Myth in there, Urban, and our training guild in Oops.
Oh, Slayton House is saying this map is wildly wrong. Wow. It's not a pact. CIA. We can count this as a win. It's not a pact. It's just a DNH agreement. It's not a pact.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? I think if I recall, one of them, I think there's a distinction it makes between pacted and DNH, but I think we all know, really, I think there's rarely a distinction between the two. I know people like to make that distinction, but
we're gonna update this to a DNH agreement on the line.
Sure.
Here. Yeah.
We wouldn't want to mislead people, after all, George.
No, absolutely not. We'll get this updated. DNH agreement. Yeah. That's too small. Doesn't matter. It's just for a bit anyway. Okay, DNH agreement. There we go. Updated. There we go, Taco. Lob and their 8 members or whatever it is properly represented. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Crisis averted, boys. All right.
Yeah, I'm glad for one.
Yeah. Yeah. So 20s kind of did everything. The 10. I guess the rest of the 20s I'll probably talk about more with Scott in a few minutes. But it looks like we've kind of talked about a few of your notes. What else do you have to touch on today, Mr. CIA?
Just having a look through at the moment, Jordan. Well, I mean, obviously, what we're seeing in Zeros is interesting at the moment. You know, in Zeros, you sort of touched on it, didn't you, with the WL and VL relocating there. The guild, I think it's well, it used to be called something like Big PP or something like that. The tag, I believe, the Pirates Guild. I'll probably refer it to it now.
Yeah.
Has now been changed. Now obviously that name has been censored, but that group is a very interesting group to begin with. There's a lot of characters there. There's a lot of people, the very interesting characters that are probably slightly known in AE, especially from I think Altair. You know, you've got people. Supposedly, people like Dregal and Zinema, if people know any of those names, they might mean nothing to most other people, but people like that, they're there. I've been told that I Love Your Taste in Hats is there as well in that pirate guild. It's a real, it's kind of a beautiful story, I think, the pirate guild, because they were originally not one. I'm not sure if you knew about that, but they were not one homogenous guild. They were probably about 2 or 3 different guilds, and actually, when WL/VL relocated, they actually sort of agreed to sort of pact up and fight TJ and Cloak. So it's a very interesting story. I think Zeros. I think if we rank the most interesting clusters at the moment, we'd obviously be seeing 20s at the top. I think my personal favourite is definitely Zeros just below them, because I think there will be some interesting things happening there over the next couple of weeks, especially as we see jump gates and wormholes get up there.
Yeah, things will start happening in those other places, and apparently, if in the 10s, what the packs are, it's Bex and Joy are pacted against Lois and GC.
Well, there we are. And there's actually some room for maneuver, so to speak, in teams then actually to have some interesting times.
I'm glad we have some fact checkers for you, CIA. If this is the news you've been reporting for the past few years, I'm glad we have a quality review process now.
But yeah, well, you know, I've asked people in Lois and Bex, but I've received nothing to confirm this information. So I'm just glad that glad the ANN is providing us the fact checking ability.
Yeah, we still found our way to the truth, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Mr. CIA. Yeah, it's getting pretty late. If you have any notes left, pick your favorite one, and that can be the one we wrap up on before I drag Scott in here, because we've got on for almost like 40 minutes. So
great. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I think I've pretty much covered everything I probably wanted to talk about, really. I think it'll be an interesting service, see what other things and hijinks come up. I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen in 20s, what kind of out of cluster packs. I've heard rumours of the first out of cluster packs already being made, which maybe we can actually break maybe now, Jord, I don't know.
You want to break the news? If it's an out of cluster pact, I already assume that Boom is a part of it.
Well, you'd actually be wrong. Interestingly,
no
I have
kidding.
heard that. Yeah, I was as shocked as you to hear it too. I've heard that there are sort of elements in the teens, particularly upper teens in Lois, that have been already making some out of cluster pacts with the Pirate Guild in Zeros at the moment.
Well, we'll see.
Now, what kind of pact? I'm not sure. Both of them being in upper teen/zeros probably makes sense with Pumpkin Map, I suppose. But that is sort of the hot off the presses. That happened just probably 5 hours after I created that graphic, so that's why it didn't get updated.
Oh well. Until we can get some substantiated proof that it's not just a DNH agreement, we can have to post that as a rumor. Not a fact.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to misclassify it after all, would we? Yeah.
No. So we're breaking another rumored pact. We'll see if it gets shot down again before the next episode, but we'll see how that happens. See how it goes. But this rarely happens. You did such a good job. We were a little long, but CIA, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll have you back on again because you're doing the job that I haven't been with the news. So thank you so much for your time, CIA. And I got to give you the boot. Got to play you off.
No problem. Thank you for having me, George. Take care now, guys.
Yeah,
bye.
Thanks a lot, CIA. And so That was guest number 1, CIA, and we're going to keep this moving because we still have a second guest. We have Scott coming on in a moment. So I'm going to take us back to another break. I'm going to mute my microphone this time, and we'll have Scott back on in like 1 minute. All right, guys, that was a quick quick get for Scott. Scott's been on the show a few times before. He was, in fact, our very first guest on the show. Yeah, Scott, why don't you go give an introduction for yourself so those who don't know you can know you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me on the esteemed ANN, third time guest here. So honored to have that privilege. But yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Scott, or in-game name of Aurkhi, as everyone accurately puts it. I'm the current.
Is this supposed to be said differently? Is Aurkhi pronounced different?
No. I just kind of, everyone says something differently. So, I'm currently the pig wrangler of Cancer Crew at the moment, a job that I am unwilling or not excited to be doing. I've been playing with those guys obviously on and off for years now, started, and now Ben's calling me literally as we're doing this, I assume to throw me off. But yeah, I've been playing with those guys for a while. It's been a good time. Just to kind of give a little bit of background about how our guild was kind of created for B5. Kind of touched on it a little bit, but we went into A5. It was very much a week before, getting a message from Chris saying, hey, we're trying to do 20 people for A5 and just have some fun. You know me, that's my favorite strategy. Just kind of play and quit once the server becomes not fun. So we went in there, we had 22 people, 5 of them were just absolute pigs that did absolutely nothing. So we were kind of undermanned, had a good time, fought Trace and them for a little bit. Trace and JB, ended up packing them, tried to do some out of cluster stuff, took a 1v1 crash against the lost Martian rats that backstabbed us, and then we lost, and then we quit. And as we lost that crash, we Doom posted our B5 Discord that I had made 2 months earlier, just to kind of have it on the side, because we knew we were going to do that right when we lost. And it got filled with 45 people within 5 minutes of us losing that crash. And then we just sat there for 2 months and did nothing. And that's where we ended up on B5. One of those, it's a cycle in this game. You get zerged, and then you come back and you have 50 people and you kind of want to beat some ass and then quit again. So that's just a little bit of background.
Yeah, that's definitely the cycle where you try hard and then you don't try hard, and then you maybe try hard again or take a break in there somewhere. Yeah, that's what happens when you play this game for a decade or more.
Sadly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's your recent history. I know he's GM'd lots of other stuff too, and he doesn't think that everyone he plays with or against are either pigs or rats. I'm sure you'll have something nice to say about someone.
No, there's some good people out there.
Some of them. So I guess but thanks for selling yourself big there. I guess so. Bringing it to Borealis, you started the server in Yugi. They're now renamed to NF No Friends. You were not the GM starting the server, correct? Question mark.
No, I was.
You were. Oh, I thought you weren't the number one GM to start the group.
No, unfortunately I've been in this position since server start. They would say different. Obviously, if you ask my guild, they would say otherwise. But yeah. I've been in this spot since day one. Sure.
So the 1 week contest, which is exactly what you were looking for. It's what your group wanted. You wanted to just pummel the War Legend group that was most likely not going to use the full optimal tactics. Because playing in a contest is difficult. Winning one is even more difficult. I guess not for you guys. You guys usually do when you do it. But I guess, and I can and I will speak for like the kind of orders that we had in War Legend throughout that.
Oh, yeah.
But so I guess, can you share with us maybe some things, some strategies your guild was doing to win the contest there?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing is just giving context of why we chose to start on TJ and Cloak. I think people thought that, we just saw a big group and we're like, all right, fuck it, let's just go after them. But in retrospect, I mean, they weren't really even on our radar until that whole like pre-server spying stuff happened. So kind of just to give a little context there, because we did our B5 recruitment literally as we were dying in A5, we got a lot of people in our Discord, and we kind of just did, for anyone who played A5, they'll kind of know the guilds that I'm about to reference here, but we were obviously, since there was only 20 of us, we were split, our group kind of, our core, whatever you want to call it, our core friend group kind of split between a couple of different guilds on A5. So we got a bunch of obviously all of our guild, which was Yoon Sim or whatever Alkis's terrible tag was, and then we got the Rice guys, so it was like obviously Moros and Panda and Haley, all those people, and then a couple of new tag alongs came, and there's this guy How To that joined us, and we're us, we're a pretty leak free environment. It's pretty hard to get information from us unless we're like openly just giving it up in AEU Discord just for shit posting purposes. So about a couple weeks before the server start, we found out that our server list was kind of leaking around and getting around. So we did some looking into it, and I gotta find the screenshot for you. I don't know if you have the ability to pull stuff up right away, but it's a very funny screenshot. But basically, that How To guy was screenshotting our server list and sending it to TJ, but what he did was he appeared offline, but he didn't realize that his tag stays. I just sent you the picture. It's really funny.
I can remember, yeah.
He didn't realize that when you appear offline, it still shows the little icon on the bottom. So it was really easy to figure out who was sending our stuff around, because this one screenshot that I just sent you was floating around. So we obviously kicked him, and he claims that he was going to leave before the server started anyways. But really, that's kind of what started this whole thing. So before that even happened, TJ messaged me a very friendly, like, "Hey dude, like, heard you're leading this next server. Like, good luck. I hope everyone has fun." And I had never spoken to TJ before. I was like, "Hey dude, yep, sounds good." And then I messaged him after that, and I was like, "Hey, that was kind of a dick move to spy on us like that and just kind of float around our player list." And he kind of dug in, which I respect. He was like, he's like, all is fair in war. It was like, this is like 2 weeks before server starts, so I didn't really realize we were at war yet. But it's, so that kind of pissed us off. So then I put a poll up that day of should we contest TJ and Cloak, and it was like, we had like, I think it was like 32 votes yes, and then 8 said no, and so we just said fuck it, and we just made plans to contest him right away. So it became a little personal, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. That'll do it.
Yeah, that screenshot's hilarious. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I think you definitely got your revenge on that group. That's for sure. Definitely was not an easy start. Oh yeah, because you dodged my question. Because to talk about why you decided to punish.
I had to do it.
So coming back to, for the actual week 1 contest, what are the strategies that guilds are, that you did what guilds are supposed to do when you're in a hotly contested start like this, where you're trying to do specifically this?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, obviously, like, we knew going in that we weren't going to be able to cover all their galaxies, so it was really important. So they started in 5 different galaxies. They had like 20 people per galaxy, 5 galaxies. We did just 3, and we started in 2021, 22. We knew that we were going to have to beat them down really bad before those sim galaxies even had the chance to like get involved. So the strategy really, again, it's nice because I'm not as everyone in the chat will probably attest to, I'm not some strategic mastermind when it comes to contest. When you have players who've been there, done that, it makes it really easy. But it's based for full CV production. You should never stop pressing the prod button at 100% from the time you get base 4 to when you quit the server. That's just how AE works. You shouldn't be not producing. So it was full CV production. Some people, we even had a couple people, again, the good players who are on NA time zones, they were able to get base 3 and start full CV production and get a hit off before nighttime or late night NA time, and then snowball from there. So we selected a couple people per galaxy to go for the base 3 CV strat, and then the rest of us were simming for base 4 when we woke up, and then full producing from there. So that was the big thing. And also the other big thing was just teaming up on hits. I think people kind of underestimate that. Like when you're in a contest and it's a 20v20 contest in a galaxy, I think it's important that your targets are picked out well. B, you're restarting center, which is something you guys absolutely did not do. I think TJ,
we went outside, so we wouldn't get hit so much. Yeah, we did the opposite.
I think Cloak was in like region 62, and that's when I realized that this was pretty much wrapped up. But we mandated everyone restart in the middle. A couple people ignored that order, which is fine. But everyone has to be in the middle. Everyone has to be at either base 3 full prod or base 4 full prod, and you have to be teaming up with hits. So whoever's the closest person to you, guild mate wise, you and them are basically partners, and you're going from hit to hit together. So me and Sean were hitting stuff together. I was inting into him so he'd get pillages and snowball and things like that. Cloak, TJ said we were cheating for that strategy, by the way. It was credit transfer for us teaming up on hits, but that's a side thing. That goes into the slasher tab ban, which is a very, very funny story we'll get into, I'm sure. But yeah, those are the strategies there that I saw on our side, which I just didn't see you guys do at all. You guys really didn't coordinate hits. You guys weren't in the center, and it just felt like you guys could never find the prod button, at least prodding CVs. I saw about 150 fighters per base towards the end there, but again, that's not going to do much for you.
Yeah, you don't just spam fighters in the contest, which, to be fair, that I don't think we ordered specifically to build only fighters, but our orders were they were a lot less specific for that contest. It was a lot more of non-specifically team up and make hits, prod some fleet, and also if you get over level 10, build the turret of some kind or something. Like it was, it was a lot less of that in War Legend.
And again, like it's about the priority targets too. Like the only person I was in B20 obviously, and B20 was like my friends, so it was like me, Sean, Snot, those guys you all know. And it was the only person in B20 that was really, really active was Reethok, and that was pure spite anyways. Yeah. So he was hitting us for pure spite. So
I had almost partnered with Ree on a few hits, but it just ended up not coming together. Because I had some fleet, but I was kind of like, hey, I think I would rate somewhere. Oh, I have some Corvettes, a few thousand Corvettes to throw into something, and it just never came up from it because we didn't have priority targets. I'm sure you probably had, hey, maybe these are your priority targets. Someone team up and hit this, someone team up and hit that.
Yeah, and I think that was the kind of the big thing that we kind of stressed about after you guys had relocated was that your players, from an activity standpoint, your guys were active. Like they were online, they would downgrade, and they'd be around, and they were bouncing their fleets like the entire night, and was getting us frustrated. I think Sean was almost quit at one point because he was so frustrated. He had like 4 hits bounce their fleet. So you guys had the activity. What was clear that wasn't happening, at least in B20. Again, we rolled B21, and B22 was wrapped up pretty quick as well. But in B20, it was the closest contest, and what you just didn't have, it just didn't feel like you had much coordination. It felt like you didn't have again, for us, we really didn't need it. Like we would just announce a priority target, everyone would go and claim a base, and we would move on from there. It's a little easier for us because we, again, that's all we do is really these contests, and that's where we have our most fun. But on the opposite side of things, when you're playing with players who aren't necessarily too ingrained in those contests, but they're active, you have to micro the crap out of them, and that clearly was not there.
Yeah, that's that was pretty accurate. Yeah, we didn't have coordination, we didn't have specific orders. It was just kind of build some fleet and do your best to not die with it. That was about our guidance.
Yeah, and also like the sim galaxies were never a factor, which is crazy to me. Obviously, like those, we had put what I believe was our strongest galaxy at the edge, knowing that there was going to be 2 sim galaxies to the right, and we expected to have them bogged down pretty, like like to the point where our B22 players were complaining because they're like, all we're going to be doing is just sitting there, just holding off sim galaxies for the rest of the server. And we were fully prepared to do that, but they were just never a factor. Their sim galaxies never got off and running, kind of like film. Like they couldn't sim properly. Their econs were terrible. They started pushing fleet way too soon. I think they've tried to launch on us a couple times, maybe unsuccessfully, but yeah, it was just the sim galaxies never got up and running. Again, that was what we believed was going to be the difficult part of the contest, was dealing with, even if they're bad players, if they're active and they're simming, like they should be able to sim up big fleets and launch on us and at least do something.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, the sim galaxies, they weren't super simmed accounts. They were okay, but it certainly was not going to be enough to just dig out of the hole. It wasn't going to be there. No, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of and again, you guys obviously, there's a lot of funny screenshots floating around of Cloak being like, I will never restart, and then they restarted like 2 days later, and stuff like that. So again, there's obviously some banter involved. Again, we didn't target them going into it because of, I mean, obviously the size factored into it. We thought it'd be the closest fight we'd be able to even get. I do believe if we landed on any of these other guilds, we probably would have had a similar outcome, maybe even quicker. But obviously that pre-server bullshit really kind of got people going and made it nice for me, at least, because everyone was motivated to kind of, now everyone's not motivated. We've lost 20 people to fucking boredom.
Yeah, and this is Scott. Let me put his picture back up. There you go. Someone was just asking, who are we talking to?
Yeah, and then that account obviously it needs some work.
Oh my god, I have more econ than you. You suck.
Someone's got to do jump gates.
Wow. Yeah, you're doing it. I guess you are. Wow. So, yeah, I'm glad. Well, we're starting with a laugh, which is going to bring us into some more laughs, I think. Scott, I'm going to pivot us to start talking about my favorite thing about being in leadership in a guild, which is making announcements. I think that's basically my favorite thing, and I'll beat it into anyone that'll listen about just how important it is to write clear, important announcements. I'm not going to show the one that you had sent me from your guild, but I have one from Oops that I really liked. I thought it was a post by C4 RGM, and then we're going to show an announcement from WL that I didn't love very much after we relocated. So Scott, you haven't seen this one before, but this was an announcement. We put it up, it was a week ago in the C4 in Oops, because I guess what had kind of happened there was there was some guild teamwork that was necessary to secure an unplanned pile after maybe a suboptimal play happened while making a hit in B33. I guess someone had went straight to the base and a DEF base, and they shot him on landing, and it created a pile, so we were trying to deal with him and get it. And I thought this was a pretty good announcement here.
Good.
Because,
it's good.
Yeah, this is really good. I don't think you could even pick a nit from it. Because, there's not a lot of fluff. It's straight to the instructions. It kind of tells you, hey, this announcement's going to be about this. These are your action items, and here's the actions underneath of it. It's the action items, they're not buried. They're early in the announcement. It's guild orders. It's not fluff. It details the impact of what happens. It's relevant. It's helpful. It's educational for the newer players in the guild, and even the instructions itself. It's clear that I'm going to be listening to this part that says you must never park on a target's base. You always land next door, move across, and hit the target. Yada yada. I'm looking at this announcement, and it's not going to take me much time to know exactly what the guild orders are. And if I want to read the rest of it and learn more, I will, because it's clear and concise, and it has a nice format to it. It's just, I don't know, it's just really good.
Yeah. This is the perfect example of when you're dealing with, again, newer players, but they're active. This is what you need to do. You need to give them clear instructions, and you need to lay things out very this is what you should be doing. and then obviously some people struggle with that. So this is a really good example of a well-crafted announcement. Now, if I announced this, I probably would have gotten shot in the head, but that's just me.
Yeah, because that's only because of the guild you are in. If you were in a regular human guild, this would be normal.
Yeah, with not rat pig hybrids. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because even for like an experienced player, like it's very helpful to just have general, like clear updates. Oh, this is what your account standard should be. It should kind of, at this point, it should look more or less like this. It's just helpful and normal to have, even when you have a guild full of experienced players. If your announcements are kind of as specific as push fleet and find some targets, or build fleet, team up and make hits,
actions.
It's not going to get me very far. I think it's
now. Do me a favor and pull up the complimentary one.
The complimentary.
So we can kind of just compare. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because all right, TJ, if you're still here, I'm going to pull up one of your announcements from War Legend. It didn't hit the mark for me, but I'm going to tell you why it didn't hit the mark for me as like a prime announcement. This was posted as like our motivational announcement, like a couple days after we relocated. I forget the exact date, but like this was one of the it was a really hard announcement to read for like a few reasons. Because like it's, first of all, it's all center justified with short sentences, so it's like kind of this spazzy text that like it's hard to jump from different starts of sentences every single line. It's very difficult to read it that way. It's very, very long. This is twice the length of the previous announcement with the same amount or maybe even less like specific orders to it. Because if we this is 2 screenshots put side by side because it was really, really long, and it's not till like 75% through the announcement of having to scroll down till we get to this part that matters the most, missile before 10, don't skip it. But even like these orders here, like they're not like as like compared to the prior, like this is specific. These are your steps: land next door, move across, like things that we played for years and know for sure. But yeah, Scott.
The only specific there is missile. The only specific thing there is missile before 10. I mean, that's the important bit. Even when you're dealing with players who know what they're doing, it's still important to micro, especially the first month of the server. Like you should be making like almost a daily, if not every 2 days, announcement of like, this is exactly what base rotation you should be on. This is what base you should be pushing for next. This is what you should be doing with your fleet. Obviously, after restarting, I understand that you need something more of like a rah-rah, like, hey, we're all in this together type announcement, which is fair. But there's also got to be very specifics. Also, the listen up being left centered is that's tough, obviously. But again, I get the meaning behind this, and this isn't to like just shit on someone, but like again, you're dealing with a situation where you have 100 players relocating, morale's low. You want to up morale, but you also have to like hold hands. Like it's clear that that was the issue with the first contest. Like this is no hand holding. This is like, we're behind. That's the truth. But being behind doesn't decide anything. Like it just isn't gonna hit as hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I kind of want to loop it back to the part where it is the orders, the part that matters the most. Like some of the steps there, like push your economy hard, but protect it with real defense. What does that actually mean, though? What are we targeting for as a guild? Because we're a week behind these people that we started behind. Does that mean I am maybe? Should I not go greedy with economy? Because it does say snowball my bases and growth is everything right now, but protect it with real defense. Should I be teching to ions earlier? Should I be doing things like that? I don't know from this announcement, and we just didn't.
This is exactly what happened. This is exactly what happened in my guild, where I would announce something like this, and it started a joke that Alex would come in and make a clarifying announcement to every announcement I would make and translate it from Scott to the pigs and like give them actual details, where the exact same thing. It was like, hey, Scott said that we're working on fleet specs. Like, this is what that actually means, you fucking idiots. Like, that's what it was. So it's important to clarify, because you can't leave things. If you leave things in doubt or you leave things vague, like, people are going to do the stupidest shit you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, people will always fuck things up in new and creative ways.
Or they'll just pull a Southie and just completely ignore instructions regardless, even if you give them detailed orders.
Yeah, because guys, I think TJ and Claude's thought process was more along the lines of, we've all played this game for 15 years, that we should all just know what we're doing. And in a way we do, but those things kind of work more when you're just chilling and simming and have no problems whatsoever. As soon as you have, problems like, you're contested by Yugi, or then dealing with dark players with fleets, you got to just do a little bit more. And I think if we had that, WL could have had a bit more success, but we didn't have that.
I agree.
And a lot of people dropped out because of it, unfortunately. It's not to just bash you or call you out, whatever, TJ, but it's I think with this more difficult starting situation, we needed a bit, and I think we just needed a bit more action to fight back a bit more. People are saying my microphone is too quiet, but we're getting close to the end of the show, so it's not going to get fixed today.
Before we close short, I do have to jump in. I do have to just add one little part of the contest that I thought was one of the funniest bits. Obviously we were going through the pre-server stuff with the how to spying stuff, and one of the screenshots that really just made me laugh so hard was him kind of explaining. He started talking in the AE Discord, so I just sent you the screenshot of him kind of explaining the situation and why he was spying and everything. But that led me to one of my favorite moments of the server. Was as usual, it's such a tired line of the CC guys do nothing but multi and cheat. Again, did nothing of that sort. But my favorite part was he was yeah, I didn't play with you guys because you're a bunch of cheaters. I played with Slasher Tab instead. And I hope he's still in chat, because this is my favorite part of the whole thing. Was he actually got banned for multiing in B22 in their contest, because he was hitting literally an ungilded fucking multi that was downgrading defenses. And TJ sent one of our players a long message of basically begging us not to report him for cheating, and it was very, very funny. He was kind of accusing us of cheating because we were teaming up on hits together. It's one of my favorite bits of the players that go up against us say that we're a bunch of cheaters, and the only people that get banned are them. So I just had to kind of dive into that and kind of at least highlight how funny that was.
I'm sure you didn't have one reports multi to get outpost ships. You guys caught a lot of outpost ships of ours in B20.
I think we caught 3 of PJ's outpost ships. But no, there was no reports used, not once.
Okay, all right, we'll take. Yeah, I was hiding mine. I would hide my fleet so the guild couldn't see. And
I saw people dropping guild and stuff. Again, it was just that wasn't happening. Now, was I getting all of the announcements sent to me and people being dude, there's no direction here whatsoever? Yeah, 100% I was, but nothing that was. We were never using reports to beat you guys. Again,
honestly, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't.
That's what people had suggested that, and I was why would we even do that? Why would we? Again, not trying to be dick, but why would we need to?
Yeah, it's it just wasn't needed. It was simple enough.
But yeah, that's the story. So keep an eye on B20. I'm sure the Lobe and Boom not pact is going to be something interesting. I've heard that the Lobe guys are very, very interested in seeing us dead, so that's going to be a fun one down the line.
Yeah, it's what was it called? The temporary DNH agreement. Yeah, full spin zone already in chat.
Yeah,
it's not a pact, it's a DNH.
You usually share piles with your enemies. That's a very common thing.
I mean, we've shared piles before. It happens sometimes.
Well, we have, yeah. To be fair, we have a lot of that in Utopia, but.
But anyway, yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to touch on for your early contest? I know we left after a week, and about 10 or so, maybe a dozen players of you dropped after that, so you still have 40-ish, but you'll be playing the server out. I think there'll be a lot to do, especially in your cluster. You have the fun one.
Yeah, the last bit I'll just add is like, again, not. I hate to I've made it pretty clear, like I don't have anything against TJ and Cloak and those guys, but like, how did you not scout where you were relocating to? That is insane to me. I mean, that is just, you guys relocated on a guild that had been playing for a week already. That's worse than staying and playing at 20s. So that part to me is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think if we had chosen an empty galaxy instead of the War Legend Ancestral Home galaxies, I'd probably still be there. But we didn't.
Yep.
And so I'm not. Yeah, I didn't want to be dealing with that for the rest of this server. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't think you'll see us very much longer either, to be honest. At our current burn rate of internal blowups, we probably only have a couple weeks left in us.
Maybe they can relocate back to 20 and take it back over.
That would be the, and he could claim victory. He could say he won B20 if he did that.
That's a long game, baby.
I respect it.
It would be. That would be a very funny move to see in 6 months.
That'd be a great meme. Actually, I'd respect that.
Me too. Well, Scott, this has been a long episode today. We went an hour 20. This might be the longest one ever. So.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, it's been a long one. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I give you the boot and tell everyone goodbye?
No, not at all. Thanks, buddy, for having me. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again, Scott. Maybe I can come on your Scottcast soon enough, and we can do one of those.
If you don't think I recorded this, I'm just going to upload it directly to the Scottcast. So
that's perfect.
Go ahead and subscribe.
Oh, perfect. Well, yeah. Thanks again for coming on, Scott. I'm sure we'll talk soon in various Discords.
All right, see you, buddy.
All right, later. All right, guys. Thank you so much again for your time, Scott. It's always a pleasure. Scott's been on a few times before. But this episode went pretty long today, but it's been a long time. We had a lot to talk about. So I think that's going to wrap up everything for the Astro News Network today. I really do hope you all got to enjoy yourselves today and got to learn about our guests, CIA and Aurkhi. Hopefully we got at least some facts right about the server. We'll get our clusters and guilds and packs map updated for the next episode. And I'd like to thank everyone once again for watching today's episode. I don't know exactly when the next episode will be, probably in 2 to 3 weeks or so. But that's going to be it for today. Go log back in, fill your queues, check your scanners, all that fun stuff. And again, thanks so much for watching and chatting and talking along. And thanks so much. We'll see you on the next episode, and see you guys later.